supported tonight, we're told, by 4,000 fans from his hometown of Little Rock, Arkansas, where Bill Clinton, the former president, is among Jermaine Taylor's fan club. The two of them have had conversations, phone calls ahead of Taylor fights. 23 wins, no defeats so far. But what has he really done at world level? He's fought a very faded William Joppy. That's what he's done. He beat him easily enough. He didn't stop him. He won more or less every round. Floored Joppy on the way. He's looked good. He's done nothing wrong. But is he ready?
Well, that is the big question, but what we have to remember, the longer Bernard Hopkins goes on, someone is going to be in the right place at the right time and relieve him of his title. It could quite possibly be tonight. Jermaine Taylor is a top-class fighter. I don't think he has enough under his belt. I think Bernard Hopkins is that little bit too smart, too experienced. I don't think he'll be allowed to do the things he's good at doing. But Ian, he does have a realistic chance. Suddenly, 40 years old may catch up with Bernard Hopkins. Will it be tonight?
14 years younger he is. Hopkins had had 12 defences of the title when Taylor turned pro. And here he is again, the ageing but ageless Bernard Hopkins at the age of 40. Never stopped in his 17-year career, unbeaten for 12 years and through 20 defences of the middleweight title. The man who's had more middleweight championship fights even than Carlos Monzon, Sugar Ray Robinson and Marvin Hagler. More, in fact, tonight by 9 than those three legendary fighters. He's made his niche in history, all right, but there has to come a time when the age catches up with him, or does there?
Yeah, also you have to remember, if you want credit for beating Hopkins, he must do it while he still has something to offer, and that's the gamble Jermaine Taylor's camp are taking. I haven't seen any signs of deterioration. In the De La Hoya fight and the Howard Eastman fight, he always gave that impression of a man who had more to offer if it was necessary. Maybe he was conning us, maybe what he did in those two fights is as much as he can muster. If that's the case, then it enhances Taylor's chances, but I do feel he lives and breathes boxing every day of his life. He's never out of shape. That's the reason he can still compete the way he does at the top level at the age of 40. I think he's still in excellent shape, and I think he may just be too smart for Taylor.
There he is again with those symbolic gestures, the cross-armed stance and then the slit across the throat, which he tried on with Taylor at the weigh-in and press conference. Taylor wasn't buying it. They swapped angry words for about 30 seconds at the weigh-in, but Taylor wasn't giving ground. Maybe significant there. He got very fired up and agitated, and he'll be looking to make Bernard Hopkins fight 3 minutes of every round, something he's managed to get away with not doing in recent contests. The betting is surprisingly close. 6-4 on Hopkins, 11-8 against Taylor.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the MGM Grand of Las Vegas, Oscar De La Hoya's Golden Boy Promotions and DeBella Entertainment are proud to present 12 rounds of boxing for the undisputed middleweight championship of the world. Brought to you in association with HBO Pay-Per-View, sponsored by Remy Martin and IceLink Watches. Sanctioned by the Nevada State Athletic Commission Chairman Skip Avancino Jr., Executive Director Mark Ratner. The three judges at ringside scoring the contest on the 10-point system will be Dwayne Ford, Jerry Roth, and Paul Smith. And inside the ring, referee in charge, Jay Nady. And now, with dedication to all the men and women now serving in harm's way as members of the armed forces of the United States of America, ladies and gentlemen, from the MGM Grand of Las Vegas, let's get ready to rumble! Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner, wearing burgundy, official weight 160 pounds. Since winning the bronze medal in the 2000 Olympics, he has a perfect professional record consisting of 23 bouts, 23 victories with 17 knockouts. He is the pride of Little Rock, Arkansas. Here's the #2 ranked challenger in the world, the undefeated Jermaine Bad Intentions Taylor. And across the ring, his opponent fighting out of the blue corner, wearing red with white, official weight also 160 pounds. Professional record, 46 victories, including 32 knockouts, with only 2 defeats and 1 draw. He is undefeated for over a decade, and his 20 consecutive title defenses add to his legacy and an assured place in boxing history. From Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, presenting the reigning, defending, undisputed middleweight champion of the world, Bernard, the Executioner Hopkins.
Tremendous atmosphere here for the undisputed middleweight championship of the world. Refereed tonight by Jay Nady, who waits to give his final instructions to these two fighters. Will there be a changing of the guard at last in this division tonight? The referee's spoken at length with both fighters already in the dressing room, but he will want that final word.
You guys have any questions? No, stay back, please. This is your side. Thank you. Obey my commands. Good luck to both of you. Touch gloves now. Let's go to work. Okay, don't.
Seen in the clips of the old order in boxing recently, Lennox Lewis is retired, Mike Tyson is out of the way, Evander Holyfield's gone, Roy Jones has been knocked out a couple of times, Felix Trinidad is retired, and Costas Yu, of course, forced to quit by our own Ricky Hatton. Is this the night where it all ends for Bernard Hopkins after so very, very long in charge of the middleweight division? They're looking to start fast in the Taylor's camp, but Hopkins sprinted across the ring at him almost as if to make a statement.
Well, Hopkins' early job, I would imagine, would be to hurt Taylor as soon as possible. He doesn't want Taylor working at a pace, he wants to give him something to work at. So whether it's to the body or to the head, Hopkins will be looking to land a bomb in the first round or second round.
Hopkins with the white waistband on his trunks, the truculent maverick who loves to forever be on his soapbox. He says by the time he's finished with Taylor, Taylor will look like a little boy lost in there.
Well, Hopkins has been trying to unnerve Taylor over the last couple of days, especially at the weigh-in. It hasn't happened, and he's still looking confident tonight. And this is a good, positive, but cagey start from Taylor. Hopkins can be outworked in the early rounds.
Who can establish the jab is another important factor in this fight. Taylor's got a very good jab, and he's got power with his body punching as well. Watch for that. Looking for that right hand over the top, and he'll look to make Hopkins work hard for 3 minutes of the round in the way that Hatton did against Zhu. That might be important. Then he starts to look 40 possibly.
But he's being as cagey as you have to be. He's paying Hopkins with the respect that he's due. He's stalking, he's backing Hopkins up, but you have to be careful what you do with this guy. Such a good counter puncher.
So much guile, Hopkins, doesn't he, though, Jim?
Yep, I was just about to say, but he's done nothing at all in the opening round. Growled and fainted a few times. Taylor's the one who's at least tried to throw some punches. So at the moment, I can't make a case for Hopkins winning this. I can make a case for Taylor.
It's very early though, isn't it? Just the preliminary skirmishes, really. Too early for a pattern as yet. Out of range with his jab a couple of times. Jermaine Taylor with massive support in this arena. What a reception he got when he came in. They've come on the buses and trains from Little Rock, Arkansas, from the deep south to support him. Good with the jab that time. Taylor got there with one of them anyway. Cat and mouse opening round. Taylor right hand. Doing a bit more possibly.
That last second or so, he's not going to be able to handle a jab. One jab, two jabs. One jab, two jabs. A lot of good things will happen off it. All right? He's looking for nothing but the jab. Anything else that comes, you're just too damn fast.
Pat Burns, by the way, used to be one of the top amateur trainers in the United States. He trained Phil Jackson, I seem to remember, one of Lennox Lewis's challengers way back when in Atlantic City. Don't often see him in a professional corner, but he's doing a good job with Jermaine Taylor, all right. Taylor has started satisfactorily, I thought there, Jim.
Yeah, well, I couldn't make a case for Hopkins winning in the first round. Taylor put so much more into it. Not many clean punches landed, but the couple of punches he did land, I've nicked it the first round to Jermaine Taylor, and he'll be happy with his start.
Bit untidy. Jane 80 on the case. White waistband on the trunks of Bernard Hopkins. Sorry, they're both wearing shades of red. Nothing we can do about that. Taylor looking for a big right hand and a left hand, and Hopkins in some trouble there. And the fans on their feet in this arena.
Well, Taylor's speed is definitely going to be a factor. Hopkins looked to be hurt there. He's been hurt before, remember.
What a start for Taylor. He's getting through. Left hand as well. Very little from Bernard Hopkins so far. He does have a habit of decoding his opponents and negating their strengths and turning every fight into his kind of fight. But it hasn't happened yet.
But I think these are smart tactics from Taylor. I think Hopkins will be surprised how clever Taylor is being. He's picking his moments, he's picking his spots to launch attacks, and he hasn't done anything silly whatsoever.
Not being too gung-ho about it, Jermaine Taylor, an Olympic bronze medalist in Sydney. Gets in with a left hand on the inside, so he can work there too. He's looking good for Taylor early on here.
No rhythm yet in Hopkins' work. He's not sharp enough to counter the jabs that are coming his way, so he's having to try to initiate attacks, and that's not what he's good at. That is not his strength.
Taylor again looks to rat-a-tat-tat, double up on the jab, and the jab is fast and it's working for him. He does have hand speed, vital.
Yeah, and when you're facing a counter puncher, you want to double the jab. He'll counter a single jab, but the second jab may catch him.
Hopkins, you feel, needs some success at this point, some stiff punch to make Taylor think.
Well, they got through with the right hand there. Taylor is the one who's clinching here.
Stop now, stop! You're holding, he can hit, you can't.
Watch the holding, a warning for Taylor there from Jane 80, the referee.
Well, Hopkins come back well, but I still think Taylor deserves the round for his early work. But Hopkins has made his first statement.
When he jabbed, go 2-3 with yours. You know what Bowie gonna say.
Well, he's seen it all before, Bernard Hopkins. Has he drawn the early sting out of Taylor yet?
Well, he did make his first statement, but that was almost a knockdown, and he definitely was shaken by that punch. Balance all over the place. He answered it well from that point on, but I thought Taylor just did the better work in that round.
Hopkins, the longest reigning world champion at any weight at the moment, 10 years and 3 months.
Watch your heads.
White waistband, remember, the defending champion. Taylor, the young hopeful.
Well, Hopkins hasn't managed to draw any mistakes yet from Taylor, so he's having to go out and look for them, and that's not what he likes doing. He likes to draw people forward, punish mistakes. Taylor hasn't made any yet.
Good right hand on the inside there from Hopkins. Something went a bit low, I think.
But this is the old man tricks coming up. He's roughing him up. He can't outbox him smoothly, so every time they come together, he's roughing him up and punching with a little short jolting punches up close.
Yeah, he knows every trick in the book and a few that aren't in it as well, Hopkins. And his boxing brain will be trying to compute Taylor all the way here, trying to drain out what he's got.
Just trying to draw the leads here, but Taylor knows it's the wrong thing to do. Here's a double jab which will work against the counter puncher. Good tactics again from Taylor.
Something that Oscar De La Hoya was never able to do, out jab Hopkins. Hopkins knocked out De La Hoya in 9 rounds, but De La Hoya looked just too small. This is a full-blown, young, ambitious middleweight.
Hopkins is settled down a little bit more now. That punch didn't land on the target. That was the shoulder, not a point scorer.
But this jab is an insistent weapon from Taylor, and it's being thrown with speed. Hopkins isn't slipping it.
See, I think the referee breaking them quickly now because he realises what Hopkins is doing up close. But this is not really making Hopkins work. I mean, he's following him around, he's stalking him, but it's nothing like pressure.
Very respectful of Hopkins. He says, even if I win tonight, I will still respect him as a great champion, which is exactly what he's been.
That's a good left hook from Hopkins. That's the counter punching again. Any mistake, it's the first mistake Taylor's made, and he was clipped for it.
Got out of trouble neatly as well there, Hopkins. Everything Taylor does being cheered to the echo here by the fans.
You're missing some opportunities for body shot. Okay, I like the way you're coming down on
Jermaine Taylor, who had a fatherless childhood, he had to more or less bring up his 3 sisters with help of his mother. He was the oldest one.
This is the roughing up tricks I was speaking about. See, this is the old head. Okay, you may get a telling off from the referee, but I think you've made your point to the other guy. All the tricks.
4th round, white waistband of 40-year-old Bernard Hopkins in his 21st middleweight championship defence here. He has fought unbeaten fighters before. Felix Trinidad, Glenn Johnson, Joe Lipsy, beat them all.
Taylor getting his punches off and getting himself back out of there. Doing far better than I expected. Low punch from Hopkins, it looked deliberate.
Don't pull his head down.
On the blind side of the ref, I don't think he saw that one. Taylor will have known what to expect, though. He will have been fully briefed. Nice little left hand there as they broke away from Jermaine Taylor.
See, that's the double jab that doesn't allow Hopkins to come back with a counter. He's cornered, I've told him that, and it's working.
So far, so good for Jermaine Taylor here. The speed is working, and that's what Lou DiBella, his promoter, was saying to us all week. Every time we bumped into him, he's too powerful, too fast, too young for Hopkins, to which Jim added, and maybe too deep too soon.
Yeah, well, that was the worry I had. But he's the one who's not allowing the other guy to fight his own kind of fight. Hopkins doesn't want to come forward looking for him, but he's having to do that because he's struggling any other way. Not sharp enough to counter Taylor, he's having to go look for him.
Hasn't done very much that you call eye-catching so far, Hopkins.
Well, that was a good right hand followed by a good left hand, but it hasn't shaken Taylor in the slightest.
Well, they claim he's never been down amateur or pro, Jermaine Taylor.
Stop! Keep your head up.
That's Hopkins making his point again. I think the referee wants to be a bit more strict with Bernard Hopkins here for the roughing up tactics.
Again, that fast jab. It's a good effort, this, from Taylor, who's living up to his billing so far. A few of the Las Vegas wise guys, the shrewdies, had the money down on him. They thought it might be his time.
I mean, I think Hopkins has landed the better punch in this round, but he's a little bit negative. He's backing off a little bit too much, but I think he just nicked it in quality punches.
Take that respect away. Start doubling those jabs. When he drops down, bang to the body, you're crowding yourself. Okay, he's just dropping down and you're
well, he's already been featured in Vogue and Sports Illustrated.
The hooks and the
Jermaine Taylor,
open up.
good-looking young fella. He seems to be a pretty decent human being as well in this neon-lit city, once memorably described by Patrick Collins of the Mail on Sunday as a blot on a perfectly good desert. Back to the action, round 5, white waistband, Bernard Hopkins. Hopkins hasn't really managed to impose himself on Taylor at all yet, has he, Jim?
No, he hasn't. He didn't offer Taylor too much target in the previous round, landing some good shots himself, but he hasn't got him under control, and he hasn't got the action, the type of action that he enjoys. So he's showing no advantage over Taylor at the moment. This is even stuff.
It's cagey, sometimes messy as well. But he isn't looking like the little boy lost that Hopkins predicted yet, Jermaine Taylor.
Time out!
Dash of heads on the inside, I think there.
It's a bad cut.
Yeah, I think,
I can see the blood coming down to, looks like a left eyebrow.
And we're past the 4 completed rounds. Yeah, he was on the blind side of us, they clashed heads. And there's quite a lot of blood coming from that. Oh, it's on the head. It's on the head, not the eye.
You would imagine the corner may be able to stop that bleeding at the end of the round, hopefully.
Not too much of a problem, that, for Jermaine Taylor. Right hand was a good shot there as Hopkins got backed against the ropes by this eager youngster who's determined to make this his night. There's no doubt about it, Taylor can win this.
Yeah, well, he's not allowing Hopkins to settle. Hopkins is forced to fight out of character, and he's not very good at this. Doesn't like coming forward, never has done. He's left off other people's mistakes, but Taylor not making any.
Hopkins usually so good at engineering openings. He's almost a precision engineer of a fighter. 2 good right hands from Hopkins as they exchange there. Those were good shots from him.
Well, again, the quality shots coming from Hopkins, but not quite enough of them yet.
Pokes a face at Taylor, tries to play a few mind games with him, gets him with a little left hook as they work in close.
Yeah, he's trying to frustrate and annoy Taylor. This is him trying to draw Taylor into mistakes. That's what the rough house tactics are all about. He's trying to annoy him.
I think Taylor's got a cut on the left eyebrow as well now.
That's a dangerous right hand Hopkins is throwing. He's beginning to find the range now.
He does have a way of working out every problem in the ring. That's how he's reigned so long. A way to prevail. Look at that, Hopkins again, twiddling the shoulders, trying to play with the mind of Taylor.
Well, the amount of punches landing makes this very difficult to score. It's so cagey, but the quality stuff definitely came from Hopkins in that round. I'll edge it towards him. I think the first sign of problems in Taylor's work in that round.
There's that cut on the head caused by a clash of heads, and has he got a bit of damage by the eyebrow as well, or was that the blood from the head we saw?
You need to come back underneath because he's dropping down. You've got to follow my instructions. Watch your range. If you double jab, don't get too close. Immediately go underneath, underneath, underneath. Then you can come back over the top. Your head hunting a little bit too much.
I mean, there is a lack of quality punches landing, which makes this difficult to score. I mean, it's cagey that they both have good defences. As the clash of heads, you would have expected Hopkins to come off worse from that clash, but he didn't. But it is warming up. I would say that's the best round of the fight we've just seen.
Sixth round. Hopkins did land with a few meaty shots in that last round, though Taylor was still trying to make the running and get that jab working for him. It has done pretty well so far. But Taylor's not been overawed in any way. There's been no stage fright here. Hasn't lost his way on the big occasion. Far from it.
I mean, Taylor has been doing the right things. Hasn't always worked, but you have to be careful you don't start doing the wrong things because you think you have to change. He has to stick what he's doing, stick with the double jabs, try to put punches together. Just a little bit too cagey at the moment. Maybe he has to just chase it a little bit more.
As Jim was saying, the round's difficult to score. Good from Taylor, double jab, right. Just the impression, especially early on, those first three rounds, of him doing that little bit more. Then Hopkins may be edging back into it over the last couple.
Well, he's the one coming forward, Taylor. Doing well in this round. Hopkins is the one with the sloppy defence. I mean, Taylor knows he cannot afford to make mistakes because he's taken a couple of thumping shots from Hopkins, taken them well. But so he's still a little bit cagey, but the jab working again.
Good round this for Taylor so far. He's done the cleaner work, but he isn't really making it the frenetic 3 minutes around type of thing that people were advising.
No, but to do that, he would have to leave himself open to making mistakes. He can't afford to do that against Hopkins. He would thrive on that. But this is a good round so far for Taylor. He's not allowing Hopkins to get anything off.
Being more economic as well, Taylor. He's dominated this round. He's outboxed Hopkins in this round.
Hopkins can't find the range, can't get past the jab, and he's been doing it with single jabs, which is surprising. Hopkins trying to finish. You can see him trying to get himself back into things here, but doesn't quite know how to do that. Excellent round for Taylor.
Has the great decoder been decoded? Just hasn't got started at all in this round, Hopkins, as yet. Needs to find something. Taylor encouraged. Right hand gets into the side of the head of Hopkins, who looks for a big right. Instead, back comes Taylor with a little flurry of body shots.
I think Hopkins is going to have to raise the tempo here. Take the bull by the horns. He's too casual. Round for Taylor there.
Taylor, who was beaten by Yermakin Ibrahimov, the eventual gold medalist at the Sydney Olympics. He got a bronze. He did beat Felix Sturm along the way. Sturm, you might remember, who gave that excellent fight to Oscar De La Hoya. We thought he beat him, didn't get the decision.
Yeah, well, you can see I have Taylor at 1 point up. And it's close for me because there's been a couple of rounds when Hopkins has landed the quality punches, but his work rate, that the judges could be scoring that against him. But I still have it close, 1 point in it.
I got it by 2 to Taylor You scored one even, didn't you, Jim?
Yes.
Remember Bernard Hopkins with that white waistband. Sorry to keep repeating that, but they are both wearing red. Hopkins was saying in the dressing room beforehand that tonight he would be the one who looked like the 26-year-old. Good right hand from Hopkins there. Little feint, then he got it through over the top.
I just wonder if I spotted a little reaction in Taylor's legs there. Not sure, it may just have been the way he turned. Good shot.
If there was, be sure that Hopkins' senses will have picked it up.
He actually looks okay, it may just have been his balance the way he turned. But Hopkins not doing enough. You know the old adage, you have to go and take the title away from a champion. I don't think like that. It's one round at a time. Whoever wins the rounds deserves to go home with the belts.
Taylor looking for his overhand right that time, but Hopkins has had success with his right hand in this round, and Taylor's just dropped his left glove a couple of times and left himself open for that shot. Oh, some dirty stuff on the inside there.
But that's what Hopkins, he has to resort to this, because the plan he had about boxing and conning the younger fighter hasn't happened. Taylor's kept his composure, hasn't become frustrated or erratic. Hopkins is trying to come up with something to make him lose his temper, I think.
Taylor quieter in this round. Haven't seen that jab from him.
His corner told him it's a cagey fight, and that pretty much sums it up. I mean, you never see Bernard Hopkins in a war. You never see him in a great fight. Always good quality boxing, good technique, and that's how this one's going along. But I tell you, it's got everybody's attention.
No, it's not Tony Zale and Rocky Graziani, this one, is it? But it's far more of a cagey, sometimes messy fight. But Taylor is doing well and threatening what would be an upset. Well, Hopkins was saying it's the nearest thing I can do to causing physical harm to Lou DiBella without going to prison for it.
Well, there's not enough urgency in his boxing or his complete attitude. He wants to outsmart Taylor. It's not working. I think he's going to have to declare war on his young challenger here.
Eighth round. The burgundy-coloured shorts of Jermaine Taylor from Little Rock, Arkansas. Very few fighters from the deep south have become stars, although of course the great Joe Louis was born in Alabama but went on to fight out of Detroit, of course, in his career.
Yeah, but for me, Hopkins needs to raise the pace and sustain it and put this fellow under some pressure. He's not a pressure fighter, but he's going to have to be tonight.
Our American colleagues at HBO have Taylor a 5-point leader at this point, 69-64.
Well, I have him 2 points up, but there have been rounds where only maybe about 3 or 4 punches have been landed, good, clean quality punches. So they're probably scoring because Taylor's coming forward every round.
Just lost his balance for a moment there, Taylor, maybe on some water that had been spilt in the corner. There's no doubt about it, Hopkins needs to be doing more, far more in fact. Because he isn't looking like a great middleweight champion here, is he?
Just took the words, he doesn't look busy, that's the problem. He looks as though he's only half at it. Even when Taylor's missing with the leads, he's throwing them, he's moving around, he's the man moving forward. So when you can't decide, if there's no clean punches landed, you're going to give it to the man who's doing the work, and that's Taylor.
Step back. I go now.
Hopkins has never really had the charisma of a marvellous Marvin Hagler or a Carlos Monzon or a Sugar Ray Robinson. He's been a blue-collar champion. He's had to work for respect and recognition. He's getting it belatedly now, but He might be in a spot of bother on the scorecards in this fight. Lovely jab, beautiful jab.
Again, that's the double jab, and the second one lands, and it doesn't give the Hopkins the time to throw the counter. That he could probably win the titles just with that one move, that double jab.
One or two boos from the crowd. They want a bit more action, particularly from the champion Hopkins, but a lot of them are Taylor fans here. Any way he wins is good for them.
Yeah, it's still a little bit too cagey. It's time that the fight caught fire, and I think it's down to Hopkins. I think Taylor's prepared to go to war. Hopkins is the man who keeps backing off and leaving the space between them.
Boxing well within himself, it seems, Hopkins, but starting to look his age, truthfully, tonight.
We're in round 9, okay? Now we're getting into the championship rounds, okay? We need to out-hustle him. He's just strolling along. When you get him in this box, in this corner, and you throw that jab, you're going to the head too much. Rip to the body, then come back upstairs.
What's Billy Fisher going to say here?
One more time, take a point away. He's holding his head.
Okay, what about him tying up? We got him.
I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to your fighter.
Hold my head down. Thank you, Jay.
Got a warning there, didn't he, from the referee, Bernard Hopkins.
It's for holding his head, I believe, and hitting. Well, that was one of his old pro tricks. I don't believe for a second that was accidental. I mean, that really was reckless.
It certainly wasn't. 9th round. There's a perception here in a difficult to score fight that Hopkins is behind and needs to do something, maybe something reasonably dramatic like that a few more times. A good right hand just slips there as they work in close. But there hasn't been a single round in this fight, Jim, where Hopkins has dominated this younger challenger.
No, I think I've scored a couple of rounds because of the quality of his shots, but at times when they hardly landed 4 or 5 punches each. But Taylor always been the busier and still not making the mistakes that Hopkins relies upon, and he's far quicker than Hopkins. Here's the old man tricks coming up again, roughing him up.
Don't hit. Don't punch. Step back.
Just trying to annoy and frustrate him, draw him into those mistakes.
By the way, the judges are Dwayne Ford, Jerry Roth and Paul Smith, all Nevada judges. No telling how they might be scoring after the long history of controversies.
Double jab works again. That's all he has to do. See if he can drop a right hand. That's just as I'm about to say, just drop the right hand in after it.
Didn't quite land flush with it that time. Taylor, whose experience at any decent level is very slender, beating a faded William Joppy and too small Raul Marquez. It's basically it, really. Everything else has been against trial horses in the main.
Couple of clumping punches up close from Hopkins there. Don't know if they shook Taylor up slightly. No, he's okay. But for me, the cleaner work so far in this round has been from Taylor. That double jab works again.
At last, a Hopkins jab. He hasn't established that punch tonight. The battle of the jabs has been won conclusively by Jermaine Taylor.
Well, at least there's a look of urgency about Hopkins. He hasn't come up with much better in terms of quality in his work, but he looks as though he's finally realised he's got a problem here.
He surely realises. Some people who say it would be good for boxing if the middleweight champion had an age that began with a 2 and not a 4. It's an argument anyway. Gets him with the right hand there. Hopkins trying to work in close. Taylor's having none of that. Back he comes with that right again. It's getting a bit more serious and a bit less cagey.
Action may be a little bit scrappy, but at least it has warmed up. It's catching fire now.
There's Jim Watt's interpretation of things.
Yes, well, I have Jermaine Taylor, as you can see, breaking away. I think he's the far busier of the two. Hopkins on my card, as you can see, a lot to do. 88, 84.
And if Taylor wins, that result will reverberate along that strip tonight. A few people watching it, no doubt, on close circuit around the city as well. We're into the 10th round now. Taylor has proved tonight he belongs at this sort of level, that he's not just some hyped up creation of the television age.
Oh, good left hook from Hopkins. Short, jolting shot. Yep, I think maybe that shook Taylor up a little bit. He's leaning on there.
But he needs more of it, much more.
Must raise the tempo. Left hook beginning to work now. They're getting that little bit closer.
Can a 40-year-old raise the tempo though, Jim?
Well, he's always given the impression he can, but he hasn't done it tonight, and it doesn't look like it.
Hopkins, who goes to bed at 8:30 every night, gets up at 4 a.m. to run, never smokes, never drinks, watches every morsel he eats. That's how he's survived this long. But all reigns have to come to an end. Might tonight be the night? How close have the judges got this? We don't really know.
Yep, he's trying to get down to business now, Hopkins. He's coming forward, he's trying to back Taylor onto the ropes. But this is really not his strength coming forward.
Taylor looks to tee off him. Hopkins made him miss and came in with some good shots. This is more like it. This is more what the fans wanted to see from these two top middleweights.
Well, I think Hopkins has to raise the pace there and keep it to the end of the fight here. At last, a little bit of seriousness in Hopkins' work.
That's just a slip for Jermaine Taylor. Hopkins looking for ball, but being made to miss, but not by the right hand. Two right hands and a left hand, and that time Taylor is shaken up. Best yet from Hopkins, and we're in the 10th round before we could say that.
He's shaken, his eyes are looking glazed. Another clean punch, he could be in serious trouble there at his right hand.
And he's in a bit of a crisis here. Taylor, he looked a little bit woozy, legs have stiffened a bit. Felt the weight of Hopkins is now on him.
We have to say Hopkins is not a bad finisher because he doesn't panic, he takes his time. But this is by far the biggest round for Bernard Hopkins. Taylor's defences have disappeared.
He's got to come through this crisis, gets him with the right hand of his own, shows resilience, and Hopkins just calls off the assault. That was a good shot from Taylor, I fancy. At long last, this fight producing some grandstand action.
Well, Hopkins could have done with a knockdown there. He won the round, but a knockdown would have tightened things up a little bit more.
Well, we're saying that, but we don't really know how the judges have got it, Jim.
Yeah, we have to keep remembering that, and we are in Las Vegas too, but Ian, you can't complain about a verdict here, so close.
He's looking for, look at me. He's throwing the right hand, that's all he's looking for, okay? Jermaine, you gotta let him go. You gotta win these 2 rounds, okay? Now listen to me.
He looks a lot more thoughtful in there now, Taylor, in that corner. He looks a lot worried. Let's see what Bowie Fish is saying.
Got the close B. Got the close B. Double shot, baby. You hear me? You practice it. You did it. Bowie say outside swim without getting.
See, this is where the experience is so important. This is where it comes into play. When there's a crisis in the fight, Taylor's defences just went for a walk somewhere, completely disappeared, and then the roughhouse tactics up close, but he was badly shaken several times in that round.
And there's 6 minutes left. This is the moment that had to come in this fight, you felt, for Jermaine Taylor. This is where he has to show that he has what it takes at middleweight championship level to come through a bad patch. Was the minute long enough for him to recover, or has something been knocked out of him?
See, these jolting punches that Hopkins throws when they're up close, They're not full-blooded shots, but they can jolt their head, and that's what started the problems in the previous round.
Oh, another right hand, didn't quite land flush, and a hint of the inside of the glove about it by the time it got there. But Hopkins is looking the stronger and more confident now.
Well, he must have plenty left in the tank because he hasn't really exerted himself in the first half of the fight.
Maybe he's overdone pacing himself. Maybe he thinks he's ahead.
But all the problems now have shifted to Jermaine Taylor's corner. His defences are bad. Snap not in his punches. This is a crisis for him.
Looking cool and controlled now. Bernard Hopkins starting to show what he's about. And Taylor's felt the weight of some of these. Maybe Hopkins is a little underrated as a puncher. In his 51st fight tonight, he's won 46 of them, only lost twice on his debut to Clinton Mitchell at light heavyweight, and of course against Roy Jones, his last defeat in 1993. And here he is again, getting there with the hooks, and there's some liquid on the canvas, and Hopkins makes an exaggerated point about not being able to keep his feet.
Well, really, Hopkins should be setting more of a pace than this. He's shown he has the power, he's finding the target now, but he will not sustain the pace when he raises it.
But he's winning these late rounds, Hopkins. Another right hand, and Taylor battles back with a little flurry of body punches. But he's beginning to find out now why Hopkins has been around this long.
Well, the target finally is there for Bernard Hopkins, but he's not going looking for it. Back into his shell again. This is unbelievable.
Well, I don't think he can bring this around. Yeah, good shot. Again, he gets through to him. Cluster of punches. Taylor bravely fights back. Really good flurry coming through from Bernard Hopkins. People in front of us jumping up and obscuring our view amid the excitement for a moment there.
Yep, another good round for Hopkins. But I wonder, is it too little too late on that card? He could have been doing with a knockdown or two. That hasn't happened. He's had a couple of chances, but hasn't taken them.
Final round here for the undisputed middleweight championship of the world, subtitled Next in Line. Well, the next in line to fall to Hopkins, or the next in line to take over from him. That was the gist of all that. We'll find out soon. Confirmation of Jim's scorecard.
106, 104. I still have Jermaine Taylor, the challenger, picking up the title. But what will the judges have?
It might even depend on these last 3 minutes. Right hand from Taylor, who'll have been told go out and win this last round, and Hopkins, surely with his boxing brain, will have worked out something similar, you'd think anyway. But they're still quite conservative.
It's amazing that Hopkins has found the power to hurt Taylor,
right
and he's
hand.
not going for there, he's done it again.
Yeah, sent the sweat spraying from Taylor's head, and that's happened several times in the last 3 rounds of the fight. Hopkins may feel that he's pulled this around late on.
Well, he has certainly tightened things up, but it all hinges on those cagey early rounds when nothing much was happening.
Close fight, probably. Again, Hopkins with a right hand. He's got him again. He's found a weakness on that left glove of Taylor's gone very low. He's open to that. Hopkins has spotted it, and he's piling the punch into the gap at every opportunity.
But we're heading towards the last minute. You would think Hopkins would be giving this everything. You wonder if he feels he's in front.
He's so used to winning, and maybe he feels like it will go that way again. Right again, and a left hook as well. This is another Hopkins round, the last so far, and there are, what, coming up to 50 seconds left of it.
Well, you have to say all the big rounds have been for Hopkins. Any round where someone's been dominated, Hopkins has been doing the dominating, but I just think he left it a little bit too late.
The big finish has come from Hopkins, and it's the right hand that's done it for him. It was the double jab that was working for Taylor early on in the fight and maybe putting a few rounds in the bank for him. There's some intrigue here because people don't quite know. Taylor's proved he belongs at this level whichever way it goes. Some of his fans have already started celebrating. There's the bell to end it all. Hopkins throws his arms aloft. Taylor doesn't, significantly. Taylor doesn't. Lou DiBella, the promoter of Jermaine Taylor, wondering if he's done enough in this, well, what for him is a huge grudge fight between him and Hopkins, of course, after their legal battles.
There, as you can see, I have 1 point in at 115, 114, and a new undisputed champion. But it doesn't look a happy corner. I wonder if they maybe feel it's been too close. The champion will get the nod. But Bernard Hopkins looked happy the way he treated the last round. He felt it was in front. I disagree, but it's not a fight you can argue about.
I've scored it level in the end. I've got it absolutely level. That's how my scoring of the 12 rounds has come out. I think there's no doubt at all, you could argue about the earlier rounds, that Hopkins won the last 3. Those were the 3 biggest rounds of the fight that anybody won. Either way, I think we're going to have another Las Vegas controversy.
Yeah, I wonder if one of the situations was that all the judges with the exact same cards, which always worries us over here.
Dwayne Ford, Jerry Roth, Paul Smith will decide the outcome of the undisputed middleweight championship, and it is taking some time. Here we go.
The MGM Grand, we go to the scorecards. We have a split decision. Jerry Roth scores the bout 116 to 112 for Hopkins. Dwayne Ford 115, 113 for Taylor. Paul Smith 115, 113 to the winner by split decision. And new
Taylor's got it! Hopkins' long reign is over!
middleweight champion of the world, the pride of Little Rock, Arkansas, Jermaine Bad Intentions Taylor.
Beaten for the first time in 12 years, Bernard Hopkins, and a new middleweight champion from Little Rock, Arkansas, Jermaine Taylor, on a split decision.